I met 5 strangers today who further reaffirmed my belief in just love, the beauty, the existence, the abundance of it all. Every single day, I'm reminded of how much love there is in the world. And I do this by I talk to strangers all the time, probably more than or as much as anyone on the planet, including the influencers who literally try and make a living or grow a following from talking to strangers, and film it. I have no desire to film any of my interactions because my hope is that you will go out in the world and talk to strangers, because observing me or anyone else doing it isn't where you will generate the most value. It is by you going out and engaging with your world, with your most honest, true, open, curious self, and reaping the benefits of connection, care, love, just joy, learning, openness, like beauty, love again. Because the strangers that I met today, I felt genuine love for them, even though I may or may not ever see them again. But it started with walking down a street in my neighborhood after meeting a friend for brunch. And I was walking solo and stopped by this man's table who, it wasn't some fair or kind of vendors lining the street. He just had his own table set up with pottery that he made. He's been doing it for 12 years. He's, I believe, in his 70s. And I was deciding between these two bowls. And he was like, "Do you always take this long to make decisions?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, "Well, I hope you don't take this long to decide who you're going to marry." And I was like, "We'll see." And he was like, "Well, I met my wife in the hallway and it was love at first sight." And he tells me a little bit about that. And they've now been married 44 years. And today was her 70th birthday. And a few minutes later, two of his friends who were visiting from Missouri, he knew they were coming, he just didn't know exactly what time. But it's a couple that he's known for a long time through his past job. And she's a school teacher in Missouri. I don't know what he does, but it's a couple that walked up and they greeted each other like old friends, and it was really lovely. And I don't know how, but really quickly it came up that they met on a blind date. And she was like, "I knew immediately." And they've now been married. They didn't say exactly how many years. Actually, no, they did. They didn't say, I didn't do the math, but they were married in 1979. So what's the math on that? 46 years? And they talked about just how they were set up on a blind date. One of their cousins set them up. And he didn't say if he knew right away, but she knew right away. And it was really lovely. I just kind of continued talking to the three of them for a little while. I didn't get to meet the man's wife because it was her 70th birthday and she was out celebrating with a friend for lunch. And both of them were just like, "Well, like, what are you married? What are you looking for?" Or not both of them, both sets of people, but the couple and the man, the potter. And they started kind of asking me about my love life and whether I would want to be set up on a blind date. And probably because I'm Asian, she was like, "Would you move to Missouri? Because our neighbor, Kwan, is single." And I'm like, "Why? Because we're Asian? You would want to hook us up?" It was very sweet, but it was also very presumptuous. And I was like, "Well, I'm not moving to Missouri." But I appreciate the thought. Maybe 20 minutes later, I was walking on my way home, taking kind of a meandering route. I met bright yellow and aqua are some of my favorite colors, bright yellow above all. And I walked by this table, and actually it was meant to be because the two bowls that I was deciding between, one was black and white for the first man, and the other was bright yellow and bright orange. And I am drawn to bright yellow, like catnip. And that's what I was deciding between. And he was like, "Are you always this indecisive?" And almost always I default to the bright yellow, but I was really torn. And for some reason, the bright yellow one didn't quite speak to me. And there was something about the black and white one that did. And I was like, I can see both working, but for some reason, this isn't an easy decision. And I think as a result, like, the yellow isn't the right one for me. And so I chose the black and white one. And I walked by this other table, and they also sell pottery. And I've never seen them. I walk by this corner all the time. I've never seen them there. Turns out they've only been there for maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and I just happened to miss them on Saturdays. And she had one bright yellow item, and it was a vase, and I like immediately like turned and caught it. And she also had aqua, which is also like this bright kind of greenish tealish aqua, is also like my second favorite color. And I stopped and started speaking to them. And I was immediately really drawn to like their china. She uses porcelain to do her pottery, like bone china. And pretty soon she was like, "You have a beautiful smile. Like you probably get that often." And I was like, "I do, but I think it's less the smile and it's more the openness that it conveys." And her husband chimed in and he was like, "Yes, there's a freedom to it." And I was like, "Yes, exactly." And he was like, "Where did you get that?" And I was like, over a long period of time of practicing, but ultimately by letting go of control in everything. And he was like, "Not an easy task, is it?" And I was like, "No, but it's achievable." And that was within the first minute of us conversing. And that immediately opened this door to just deep, beautiful connection. And we got deep in the weeds of why her company is named Oxum, Oxum. We got into the weeds of, why she teaches some of the classes she teaches, her path as an artist, because she had never previously experimented with pottery and porcelain in particular, which is really hard. But she just felt drawn to it and just started teaching herself. And the yellow that I was drawn to was this really large vase, and it was hundreds of dollars, and it wasn't quite, my style, even though the color was. So I was looking at the aqua pieces, and I was touching and, exploring like each of her pieces. And really randomly, her husband puts out this shard, what they call a tray, but it was from a broken piece that broke in the kiln. And then they just shaped it and painted it yellow, and this gradation actually from white to bright yellow, and is now a tray. And he just randomly took the piece out. And I was like, immediately I was like, this is why I didn't buy the yellow bowl. Like this is the yellow that I actually needed. Because immediately I was like, I don't know what this is, but I want this. They were like, oh, it's like a spoon rest. You can like, when you're cooking. I was like, perfect. I was like, because I actually have been wanting one. And this was just perfect. It was like this triangular shard. Anyhow, at some point, they're talking. I'm seeing their interaction. And out of the blue, I asked them, because I'd already met one couple and one person who talked about love at first sight. And I asked them completely randomly, they were talking about something else. And I was like, was it love at first sight for the two of you? And because they had already told me they'd been married more than 30 years. And she was like, oh, did he tell you our story? And I was like, no. I was like, but I told them how I met these other people, two other couples who had also felt in love at first sight. And it just seemed fitting. And they had all been, all of them had been married 30 plus years. And so I was like, it just seemed fitting that you would be the third couple today, because often things happen in threes, and that you would also have been that. She was like, maybe love is extreme, but it was definitely like at first sight. And she was like, we were also set up on a blind date. And I was like, this is just like the beauty of the world. And this is all within like a 2 hour, not even maybe an hour and a half time frame. In New York City, where no one speaks to each other, really, or I exaggerate, a lot of people do, but we get the sense people think New York has a reputation of people being cold. Within a few blocks, this tiny space in New York City, and this magic came together. And a lot of my friends say this only happens to you. And I fundamentally disagree. Like, it is not because I am special. It's not because my personality is like one in billion. It's because I am open. It's because I engage. And it's because I approach people with curiosity. And everyone that I've ever met who approaches the world in that way experiences the same magic and beauty, experiences the world and people in the same way that I do. They get incredible stories. They are told, I love you by strangers. They are told sometimes you get told people's deepest secrets that they've never told anyone else. You get things for free often. You get invited to people's homes, even though they've only spent like an hour with you. Like, these things happen when you are open and when people can sense your openness and they trust you genuinely, when you are not trying to get anything from them except the truth of who they are. Because when you genuinely try to see someone else, people are dying to be seen. People are dying to be understood. People crave that. Humans need that. That is what belonging feels like. And you don't need someone else to make you feel like you belong, even though we often speak about it that way. It's more that we don't belong to ourselves first, that we don't love and trust ourselves first, such that we can go forth in the world with this complete, open, transparent truth of who you are. And when you do that, you can find love everywhere. Like, I didn't spend as much time with the first two, love at first sight stories as I did because they were friends and they wanted to catch up. But with this couple, I spent almost an hour and a half. I ended up buying them lunch because they hadn't eaten and they didn't want to leave the table, and they had a car and he was worried about leaving the car. So I was like, I will buy you lunch. And when I came back, they were like, oh, how can we repay you? I was like, don't. I was like, it's fine. Like, you've given me so much today. And I already bought two things from them. I bought the glass, the yellow shard, the yellow tray, and one of the aqua mugs. And, actually, I should go grab them and show them. And it was just so stunning. Like, they were so wonderful. And when I came back with the food and I was like, don't worry about paying me, she gave me another piece. It was like a teacup that I had been looking at earlier and I was commenting on. It was this really cool blue. It was like a really rich, like cerulean blue. Not aqua. It had some aqua in it, but there was this rim that had the cerulean blue. And I was like, oh my God, I love this blue. And she gave it to me because she was like, because you commented on the blue and this is, in exchange for lunch. I was like, that's incredible. And I think that cost more than the lunch I bought them. But to be in the presence of three different people, like couples, three different love stories in less than 2 hours in New York City, and to have people tell you this really significant part of their lives, and to have one couple share their like deep, kind of truths about themselves and how they create and why and what they're drawn to and their dynamic, and to hear her talk about her intuition and for him to talk about, what he loves and how he supports her and how beautiful her art is. Like, it's so incredible. And I felt so much love in their presence. And even though I didn't say I love you to them, it actually wasn't because I was afraid to. It just actually didn't come out. But I think we both felt it. We were both like, we will see each other again. We will be together again. I might take a class from her, or I will reach out to her or something. But there was love exchanged. And as much as I've always wanted grand love in my life. And when I was younger, I always understood it in the context of romantic love. And I've had grand romantic love. I've had love stories that I could write screenplays and books about, but they didn't stay. And I may or may not find that kind of grand romantic love. However, I find love in the world every single day. I feel love in the world every single day. And when I meet people who are in love, when I meet people who share their love with me, like their experience of love, their love stories, or when they when they share care for me, like the way this couple did and the way this woman gifted me one of her items, like that was love. And it was so beautiful, like to the point where I was lingering. I was like, I don't want to leave. And I told them that. I was like, I almost don't want to, I don't want to leave you two because I had such a wonderful time. And they were like, you made our day. And I was like, you made mine. And I actually, at that point, it was like 2:30 in the afternoon, maybe 3, and I was their only sale because I was like, oh, how is this location for you? And they were like, you were our only sale, but even if you didn't buy anything, you made our day. And like love can come in so many forms. And if I were to die tomorrow, which I consider all the time, like I consider in my days, like, did I live today well? Because if I died tomorrow, what would I have missed out on today? And I felt beautiful, grand love today. I was in the presence of love today. I was experiencing love today. I was loved today. And I hope that encourages you to go out and feel love for yourself in all the forms with strangers. Because sometimes our loved ones aren't close. Sometimes the love that, the people that we love, that we want to be in our lives aren't. Sometimes the love that we want to experience, that some set kind of love in a set way from certain people isn't available or present. But that's okay, because you can find it in endless forms. Because the love that we want to experience doesn't have to only come in the form that we imagine. Like, I didn't walk out in the world today seeking the love stories of people who have been married for more than 30 years and then have it happen 3 times over in such a short period of time. But it happened. But every day I go out not seeking to feel love, but rather seeking people to love. And I'm not like hunting. I'm just open. I'm just open to the world and seeing what happens. And I talk to a lot of strangers. I probably talk to at least, I'm not kidding, like what I say, like I was out for, I think, like 4 hours today, maybe 5. And I talked to probably 40 to 50 strangers. And not just like a hello, like a few exchanges back and forth. And when you talk to 50 strangers, that's, granted it's a weekend, but when you talk to 50 strangers, chances are you're going to meet some pretty incredible people. And when you approach those strangers with a pure heart and openness to just see what could happen with no expectations, you're not trying to get anything from them. You're just there, being yourself, being present, being open and engaged. There are magical things that can happen. And people who are also in tune to openness and honesty and able to recognize that there's someone in front of them who is open and engaged and curious and interested in them genuinely, it is remarkable how people open up. It is beautiful how people open up. It is just one of the most heartfelt experiences when you see someone literally like just like a flower, like they just bloom. Their eyes change, their face changes, their expression changes, and especially someone who's at first a little like cautious, reserved, wary. It's so cool to see like them trust you, to not doubt that there's another intention here or ulterior motive, that you're just there to be with them and see what could happen. And it doesn't happen every day. Sometimes I just don't leave my home because I don't feel like it. But like just about every time I go out and talk to at least maybe 5 to 7 strangers, I'll get one really like, ugh. Not quite like an hour and a half conversation with a couple. That doesn't happen all the time. But really heartfelt conversations happen multiple times a week for me. And sometimes they're only like 4 minutes long, but they're heartfelt and they're filled with like love and care. And for anyone who thinks love is not an abundant resource, I'm going to tell you it's an endless resource. Because when you embody love, when you are love, you know that it just lives within you, like this eternal flame that lives within you. It doesn't have to be like fueled by, something else. Like you refuel it. You are the energy source. And this has been said in so many ways, but like people, beings are love. We can see that more easily in like dogs, where like dogs are love. They're pure love. But dogs just are. Pets just are. They are being themselves. They exist as themselves. And humans are animals who can exist as themselves. We just choose not to. We're trained not to. We're conditioned not to. We're we felt the consequence of what it feels like to be hurt when we are ourselves. But this is why I talk about being fearless and being yourself, because when you are, it doesn't mean you won't get hurt. It means that you know that you can withstand any hurt because the love is replenishable within you. It is an enduring source. It is your life force if you allow it to be. And when you go out into the world with love, as love, pure love, there's nothing that can't happen for you. There's no one that you can't connect with. And that doesn't even require them to let you in, because that's me assuming there has to be a certain form of connection. If you approach the world with an open heart, with a smile, with true curiosity and no expectations, people reciprocate. I smile at strangers all the time, and unless they don't see me, they almost always smile back. I say hello to strangers, and unless they don't hear me, they almost always say hello back. And if we don't put too much expectation on how we want people to connect with us, how we want others to make us feel, and you allow everyone to kind of be where they are, then you get to just exist as love, and you get to share that love with everyone else. And even if you might not get the reaction that you would like or you think is, appropriate or like fitting for the energy you're putting out there, you'd be surprised how many people will walk away feeling something, even if you don't know it. And so for all the content that is out there of people filming themselves talking to strangers, I understand there is value in seeing that, but you've seen it enough. You don't need another video of someone talking to a stranger and you getting the heartwarming vibes, because there is never going to be a piece of content, a video of someone else doing something that will feel as good as you going out and being that person who talks to a stranger and realizes how beautiful and available that connection is to you at any point in time, any day, no matter where you are. And I've traveled some of the most desolate roads in the world, and I have found people to connect with, or beings to connect with, other living things to connect with, even if they don't speak back to you. It can be a fucking ant in the desert, and you can find connection with that because you recognize the life source that's within both of you. And so if you take that energy out to the world, I guarantee you will feel love, grand love, every single day. And it is a practice. It is a muscle that you build such that it becomes second nature. And the more you do it, the more accessible and available it will be to you. And I can't wait for you to go out and experience it for yourself. So please, today, or if it's too late, tomorrow, go out into the world with an open heart, with a smile on your face, with true curiosity and openness, and no expectation of how anyone or anything is going to respond to you or how things are going to play out. I promise you will be met with openness. And the more you engage, the higher your chances are of deeper connection. But this only works if you go forth with the openness first. If you meet people, if you basically offer people care and love first. And that can be in the form of a smile or a hello. So start there and see what happens.